Good morning, everybody. Welcome back to another hurricane and forecast discussion here for the Atlantic Hurricane 2020 potential hyperactive season. So we just saw Faye make landfall, I believe, just a little over 36 hours ago, around there. And we're probably wondering why I'm already doing hurricane forecast discussion, because we are going to be maintaining quiet for the next potential 5 days in the Atlantic. But there are a couple areas that I am potentially keeping an eye on as July goes on. I really do think we can possibly see a huge tropical wave by the second half of July. So really, after July 17th, I really think we're going to be seeing a ton of possibilities, especially off the coast of Western Africa and also potentially in the Caribbean. So I really think we're going to be seeing possibly maybe 3, maybe even 5 more named storms here for July. It's going to be really active with the second half here. Potentially an MJO could possibly emerge in the Atlantic, and we can also possibly see less Saharan dust, warmer SSTs, less shear, and extremely favorable conditions for possibly maybe our first hurricane of the season, really. So hope you guys do enjoy this video. Please hit the post notification icon if you want to get notified as soon as I post a video. Hit the subscribe button if you're new. Thank you guys all so much for all the support we've been getting the past coming days. And also hit the like button. Let's try to get to 20 likes here on this video. Without further ado, let's get this tropical update. So obviously I'm not going to bring out the National Hurricane Center because obviously there's nothing as of now to really worry about. But there is something out here in the Caribbean that I am keeping an eye on. I'm not saying it's going to become a system. I'm not saying it's going to become an invest. I'm just saying it does look like potentially disturbed weather here over the Puerto Rico area, in between in between Dominican Republic and Puerto Rico right here. Very disturbed. It kind of looks like an invest to me. I'm not saying it is. It just looks like, just by the look of it, it kind of looks almost exactly like an Invest 98L off the coast of South Carolina. But this does have a tropical, or beginning of a tropical phase look to it. It does have disturbed weather and very thick cloud cover. Obviously, it's not super organized as it just is popping up. But I'm really keeping an eye on this. I'm not saying it's become a system. I'm not hyping this system up. I'm just saying this is something to possibly that could possibly maybe become something, whether it's small or just maybe even nothing. But I wouldn't rule out the possibility whether the National Hurricane Center does maybe put a 10% chance within the next 5 days here. Possibly right here. I would not rule out the possibility of that happening, but just looking at this on satellite imagery does look pretty interesting. Water vapor, this also does look very interesting on water vapor as well. Does have a lot of demand for evaporation, which obviously does mean it is rapidly going to be doubling its size, as it is. That's how tropical systems get food, and that's how they're fed. It's kind of their source of food to strengthen. But I'm just keeping an eye on this, and I would not rule out the possibility. Honestly, in other words, I wouldn't be surprised if the National Hurricane Center does put something out, whether it's a 10% chance or a 20% chance. And also, I wouldn't be surprised if they don't put anything. So I'm just saying this could possibly become something to worry, or not worry about, just to look out for. I'll be keeping an eye on the satellite imagery here for the next coming hour, see whether this actually does fall apart. Because obviously, I did say we're going to possibly see something right here, because based on what it looks like on satellite imagery. So I'm not going to be like kind of overhyping this. I'm just kind of keeping an eye on this. So I'll be monitoring that very closely. Also, something I want to watch out for. Well, not watch out for. I just want to show you guys satellite imagery here off the coast of Western Africa. We aren't seeing anything interesting. We're just seeing potential a lot of cloud cover out here off the coast of Africa. I don't think we're missing anything in the general vicinity within the next possibly 7 days. But after that, this is exactly where I'm worried about possibly having that tropical wave off the coast of Western Africa right here, because it is going to be very dry here, but very moist right here. So very favorable conditions right here, extremely favorable conditions. And I really think we're going to have multiple low pressure systems that can develop within after that July 17th time period. And those could very well possibly make maybe a potential defines low pressure system and then head towards the west. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm just saying that is that area where I'm focusing on for the tropical wave here in the second half of July. This is where I'm worrying about. It's about time where we have something to look out for, or it's about time where we actually kind of consider sending off the coast of Western Africa. Haven't had that consideration yet, but now I kind of am possibly. I'm not saying this is anything. I'm not saying this is anything. I'm just saying this is what we can possibly be seeing, and possibly multiple low pressure systems that can form, whether it's in Africa or off the coast into the whole line. That's kind of that tropical wave I'm talking about. Now let's go and check out now how favorable the conditions are in the Atlantic, and obviously maybe talk about where we can possibly have that threat from maybe systems in later in July. So here's a new SST anomaly here for worldwide. As you see, we are seeing some very cold temperatures off the coast of South America, which is obviously what you see in a La Nina. But the only thing is we are seeing some warm pockets of air kind of popping on and off, which is why we are at that positive neutral there. That is exactly why. Yes, we do have very cool temperatures off the coast of South America and beyond, with possibly -5 or just maybe 5 degrees Celsius below average. But obviously, you also need that little stretch of slightly cooler air a bit more. But we are seeing a bit of a warm up there. We are seeing some warmer temperatures kind of popping up, which is why we're not at that dead center, or that's exactly why we're not at a La Nina right now. Also, we are seeing the very warm temperatures for portions of the Caribbean, very favorable here. Extremely warm temperatures off near the Bahamas and Northern Caribbean, possibly 90 degrees Fahrenheit water temps. And also, we're seeing a little bit cooler temperatures out here off the coast of Africa. Obviously, you could see below average temperatures and still have something, but we're going to be kind of looking at exactly those real-time temperatures here. Right here, as you see, we are seeing 28 degrees Celsius, 27 degrees Celsius. I really do see these temperatures really warming up to possibly 29, 30 degrees Celsius by the time we get past July 17th, which is obviously going to make it more favorable. So this is obviously the tropical Atlantic is right here. This is a whole tropical Atlantic. This is where you consider the tropical Atlantic, and then this is the whole northern Atlantic. Very favorable conditions off. This is really where we have the most favorable conditions as of now for potential tropical systems, in my opinion. Right here, this is where I think we have the most favorable conditions. So in other hands, the western Atlantic, very, very warm temperatures right here, possibly 90 degrees Fahrenheit here off the Bahamas, Cuba, Florida. Extremely warm temperatures there. Some people even say it's like burning hot. It's a burning hot sensation when you get in that water. It's like a hot tub, really. So if we see that happening here, forget it. We are going to be seeing a very nice tropical wave, but obviously it's not going to warm up that fast. But I can see a widespread 29 degrees Celsius, maybe some 30 degrees Celsius popping up right here. And then once we have all that moisture coming in, less wind shear, we're going to be seeing multiple possibilities here with low pressure systems that can possibly either kind of fall apart here, that can either get formed and maybe fall apart, or not form as a named storm, but like as an invest maybe, or disturbed weather, and then it kind of falls apart here and kind of diminishes. Or we can maybe have something obviously like this, or something that's Irma-like, kind of like that. That's actually not Irma, my bad. Something like Andrew, where you have something like development right here, and then like that. That could possibly maybe an Andrew-like system, or maybe an Irma system like this. Possibly can maybe see an Irma-like system like that. Like that. We maybe have an Irma like this. Something like that that heads into the Caribbean in the Western Atlantic. Obviously, I'm not saying we're going to have an Irma or we're not going to be seeing an Andrew. Well, I think we're going to have systems of that strength of beyond July. I do think August, September, and October that's where we'll be seeing those major most of the major hurricanes. But I do maybe have I do possibly see maybe the first hurricane of the Atlantic hurricane season in July. I am thinking the Hannah. I am thinking Hannah will be the first hurricane of the whole season. But obviously that's just a prediction. Now let's go and check out everything else here to see how favorable and whether we maybe see some disturbed weather and all of that. So here's a look at the precipitation rate, just to look at it, see As you see, there is that this potential to start to weather north of the PR area and Dominican Republic. That's where I'm looking at right there. Obviously, it's not showing it becoming a defined low pressure system. It is kind of right here diminishing. This is the next 24 hours. This is where it is right here. Obviously, it doesn't have a tropical-like look to it. Obviously, it's not a storm. It's not even an invest. But you can kind of see where I'm kind of coming from here. Next 48 hours, I believe this is where it is at this point. So you can kind of see where I'm coming from at this point. Obviously, like I said, I'm not saying it's going to be invest. Like I said, I wouldn't be surprised if the National Hurricane Center doesn't post something, but I also won't be surprised if they do post something. And then at that point, we kind of lose track of where it went. Like I'm talking about the potential tropical wave here off the coast of Africa, kind of the second half of July. So this is now July 15th. I really do see multiple possibilities here. You're going to be seeing, obviously, this is what we see this normally, obviously. But watch what happens when we get like to the 20s, the days of the 20s here in the July area. It's kind of a huge difference. We kind of are seeing that moisture really spreading across the tropical Atlantic. This is now July 18th. Look at possibly July 19th, maybe a defined low pressure system kind of coming off the coast of Western Africa and the tropical Atlantic. Look at this July 20th, another potential system here, likely that can become a low pressure system. And look at all this moisture now stretching from the South America to the western coast of Africa. It's not just that little box of moisture, it's kind of stretching across the whole tropical Atlantic, which is what you're going to be seeing with a tropical wave. Also going to be seeing multiple low pressure systems in this whole box that can possibly form really at this point when you have a tropical wave. Really, this whole general area you can be seeing potential systems when you have a tropical wave. By July 21st, we have another low pressure system at that point. And then by even July 22nd, this is where we possibly have a potential system right here as well. Another low pressure system that could potentially develop. Obviously, we have the Gulf, we have the Caribbean, we have the southeastern coast to worry about, really in general. But I'm really thinking that we are going to be seeing this general phase when the western coast of Africa becomes that one area of focus. Look at this, July 24th, a low pressure system kind of outside that general area, which could possibly mean a outsider system there, and that's going to be continuing to move. As you see, we're going to be seeing a whole amount of tropical moisture, and even under the low pressure system by July 28th. So honestly, really, obviously it's super far out and it's an anomaly. I'm just saying there is a potential to maybe kind of keep in mind the western coast of Africa. Let's go and check out the vorticity. As you see, we have a very small vorticity signature where I'm keeping that eye on north of PR and Dominican Republic. We have you can kind of see a little small vorticity signature, so maybe it could be an invest. Who knows, really? I'm not, like I said, I'm not going to say it could be anything. By July 16th, we kind of have some smaller signatures of vorticity. That is normal, really. That's completely normal to see that. And as we now move more into like July 20th, we kind of have a bigger vorticity signature. That's something to keep an eye on. Even by possibly July 22nd, we have a bigger vorticity signature that is potential disturbed weather like. July 25th, another potential nice vorticity signature. Obviously, it's actually this is 13 days away, so the vorticity signature won't be like this. It won't be like that until it's actually like a invest, something like that. So don't expect it to look like that date or almost a week, almost 2 weeks out. So this is the start of it. Oh, that's another big system there, July 27th. That's going to be heading out. This one looks very interesting and intriguing. On July 28th, which is actually my birthday. So maybe I can finally have whether an invest or actually system on my birthday, tropical like. Let's go and check out not vorticity. Let's go and check out the wind shear here. As you see, not seeing too much wind shear in the Eastern Caribbean here. Like I said, the low pressure is going to be right here, so it is actually in between areas of some smaller amounts of wind shear, but not impressive or nothing like halting tropical like really strong enough for that to really make a system fall apart. As you see, we're going to be seeing a lot of strong wind shear on July 16th. That's exactly why I'm saying not really going to be seeing anything potentially until July 17th. Like I said, next 5 days really. But as we now get into possibly July 18th, July 19th, we're going to be seeing very little amount of shear. Obviously, you are going to be seeing shear at some point, but when it gets like above 50 knots or 40 knots, that's when it kind of does possibly come in hand where it might halt the system. But look at this, by July 22nd, where we have the potential huge open wave. Look at all Look, there's no shear whatsoever in the tropical Atlantic, really whatsoever. Very favorable conditions, wind shear. As you see, we are going to be seeing a little wind shear near Sierra Leone, all those areas where we possibly have those low pressure systems. Look at this. These low pressure systems will possibly develop in extremely favorable conditions, really. The dust isn't going to be there. The dust is actually right here to the north. This is where the dust is going to be. So like I said, that's where that tropical wave can possibly happen right here, like a little highway of no shear, very nice SSTs. But yeah, that is that. That is now the wind shear factor. Obviously, we have very little wind shear as well in general for the whole Gulf of Mexico and Caribbean, really. So obviously, you gotta keep in mind this whole area as well. Really gotta keep in mind this whole general area of the Western Atlantic. That is July 15th here. Could possibly see some maybe systems after July 15th. Could very well see a potential for something, but we aren't going to be seeing too much shear really at all in the Western Atlantic. So very favorable condition in general. And the second half of July. Let's go down and check out now the moisture or humidity. Obviously, we are going to be seeing some drier air from some SAL, which is why we can very well see that 5-day break with no disturbances or negative storms. We can possibly have maybe a highlighted area, or maybe a highlighted area or two, but I don't see them actually becoming something major or even tropical storm-like or maybe depression. I don't really see anything being a threat on the National Hurricane Center or anything until after July 17th. But look at this huge wave of moisture on July 15th off the coast of Western Africa. That's what I'm saying. That's where we can possibly have that tropical wave. And look at how look at it on July 18th. It's just this moisture is gonna be spilling out, and it's gonna kind of kick that dry air out. We have a ton of dry air in this general area of the Atlantic, but honestly, it's gonna be moving out by the time we have these low pressure systems kind of developing. Look at this tropical wave, moisture all the way from South America to western coast of Africa. Obviously, we're not seeing the most extremely favorable conditions of moisture on the Western Atlantic, but we're also not seeing too much dry air. So, but look at this moisture. It's completely crazy, all this moisture coming off the western coast of Africa. It's just little waves. We have that little wave here, a little wave here. So just multiple waves of moisture coming off the western coast of Africa here. And also, we're going to be seeing that Bermuda High right here. That's going to keep in some drier air across this area of the northern Atlantic, but also going to be seeing some nice amounts of moisture. All it takes is a little moisture to create a system. So maybe if you see a little speck of this, you can still see something. You can even see something like a little drier isn't too bad, but when you kind of see this color, that's the kind of when it really becomes unfavorable. Last thing we'll be looking at is also the SAL out here to see exactly where this SAL is and how much will it actually strengthen. Will we see another huge Saharan dust coming to the United States and the states here? Let's go and take a look. This is July 12th here right now, really 11 a.m. As you see, let me actually pause really quickly. As you see, we have a ton of Saharan dust right here. Obviously, you're going to be seeing Saharan dust. When it comes to like the light brown color or the moderate brown color, it's not too shabby. But when you kind of see this really dark brown, that's when you know it's really drying out the atmosphere. Nothing really going to form. But look where we have. That's system over PR. It's right here. So it doesn't have a really drier to it. And it doesn't have any wind shear like we saw. As we now get into July 13th, we are going to be seeing a little less amount of dust coming off the western coast of Africa. We're going to be seeing dust and a big wave. It's not as bad, as thick as this area. So like I said, we may have very warm SSTs. We may have very little amounts of wind shear, but we are going to be seeing a very dry air coming to the Caribbean, which is why I'm saying we are not going to be seeing anything really until early July, let's say July 17th, like I've been saying this whole video. Also, just as July 14th, keep in mind right here, we're going to be seeing a very less amount of demand for Saharan dust right here, even on the Saharan desert. So this is July 14th. Look at these colors. They kind of get more to the light brownish color. This is July 15th. Now we get to July 16th here. This is now July 16th. It is going to be kind of winding down. So this kind of goes as far as July 16th. But we are going to be seeing a decent amount of Saharan dust here for the next coming days. but it will kind of wind down once we get past that July 17th. I'm not saying it's going to be extremely favorable on July 16th, or sorry, 17th, but look at July 15th as well. Look how little dust there is by even just July 15th alone. Can you imagine July 17th? You got to have a couple hours or days after that dust kind of moves out to actually see potential favorable conditions here. So that wraps up the video. So honestly, this was just a little kind of video looking where we can possibly have the next activity here for July. Just talking about the timing, the general location. So I'm not saying we are going to be seeing something developing. I'm not saying really we're going to have that system north of PR going to form. But honestly, I'm just keeping an eye on that. There's multiple things I'm keeping in mind of. Also, obviously, the west coast of Africa, the tropical Atlantic, that area will really become very favorable, but actually after July 17th, really. So it will maintain quiet for much of the week here. So for much of this week, it will maintain mostly quiet. As this is the start of the week, it will maintain mostly quiet. The really only thing I see as of the next 48 hours is that system north of PR, but I'm not extremely confident of it forming. I'm just saying it does look pretty interesting on satellite imagery. Hope you guys did enjoy the video, and bye guys.